These are just so adorable. I know you guys are gonna love working on these. Hi everyone, welcome to the Stitch Sessions. It's Karen here, and I've got a really fun and cute tutorial for you guys today. We are going to be creating these sweet little Christmas decorations, these little sweaters here, and actually from the back it looks like he's wearing a tie, or she. Now, I know we are in the midst of October, and many of you are gearing up for Halloween. And by the way, have you seen the Crochet Kitty project that we worked on a couple weeks back? It is so cute, but you can make it spooky in time for Halloween. And if you haven't seen the tutorial, I'll leave a link for it down below, as well as my Halloween crochet playlist. So if you're still looking for some fun ideas to add some crochet to your Halloween decor, check out that playlist. It'll be down in the description box down below. But today, I'm getting a little bit of a head start on some of my holiday items. Now, I know a lot of you like to do this. You like to get ahead of it so that the holidays are stress-free, which is what we like to do. We like to plan ahead. And I have an extensive Christmas crochet playlist of a lot of other Christmas projects. If you're curious to kind of get started right away, you can check that out. And I'll also leave a link to that down below. As well, in a few weeks, you will see my annual Christmas crochet tour. And that's when I usually give you a tour of a room or a specific spot in my home where I've added a lot of crochet decor and accessories to the Christmas element in my home. And this is going to be one of the projects that you will see, so you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek. And I just think that they are absolutely adorable. They're great scrap busters. I just worked this one up with some leftover yarn and just to kind of work out as an experiment, and I love how it came out. Now, this was done using the Lion Brand's Summer Nights yarn. That came out a few summers back, and I absolutely love that yarn. I've got several projects here on the channel where I use that yarn, mostly for like summer projects. It's a very light, very fine yarn, and I think it's like a super fine #1 yarn. And it is just delightful for projects like this. It's nice and thin, so it's perfect for like a little ornament type of project, which is what I would recommend. And this one I kind of whipped up as well with some leftover yarns. This was done with, it's a wrap yarn, and I think it's by Red Heart. I have not seen this yarn in a while, just like the Lion Brand Summer Nights. I think it's been disconnected, but I'm not sure. You used to be able to get these at Michael's. I did start seeing the Summer Nights at Walmart for a time, but now I think they've just completely discontinued making it. It's really hard to find nice fine weight yarn at Michael's or Walmart. I find that you have to go to a lot of the independent shops or online stores. And in fact, if you guys have any great recommendations on some fabulous fine weight yarn, please do drop it in the comment box down below for the rest of us. I'd really love to know where to get some. And in particular, I like these because they are a cotton blend. So that's one of the things I really like about it. And it's not mercerized cotton, which you can absolutely use for this project, by the way. But these are just like a cotton or a cotton blend, so they're nice and soft. And I had a bunch of these little tiny remnants left over from other projects, and I've been holding on to them, and then I finally realized the perfect project to bust through my stash here. This little remnant here is some leftover yarn from, and I've got it right here. This is Loops and Threads wool-like yarn, which they absolutely, again, they discontinued, and I got it on clearance at $3. So it was such a steal that I scooped it up. I kind of had a project in mind for it, but I still haven't gotten to it just yet. So this would be, so you see it's 85 acrylic and 15% nylon. And it is considered a super fine #1, which is perfect for this type of project. So the reason why I'm kind of talking about the yarn right away is because I know many of you, especially if you're a little bit newer, you might find this a little finicky to work with this fine weight yarn. I know I certainly was when I first started, and to a certain degree, a little bit still now, but I will make the sacrifice for certain projects. So you're going to ask me, can I do this in a medium 4-weight yarn? And I'm going to say absolutely yes. You can make it in any yarn type that you like. Even if you said to me, I want to make this in a bulky number 5 or 6, you can do that, but what you're going to notice is that your project is going to be massive. And so super fine weight yarn is great because it's perfect for like an ornament type size. So you can see my hand right here, it fits in the palm of my hand. Once you start going into medium weight 4 and 5 and up, now your project is actually going to become quite large, which is fine if maybe you're going to make this for a doll or something like that. But if you want to do it for an ornament, I really recommend sticking with the superfine number 1 yarn. Okay, so, and I love this variegated yarn. It just worked out perfectly for this sweet little sweater. And then this one, I color blocked it because I ran out of the gray, and then I had some of this little remnant left. But isn't it cute? You can also add sparkles to it. I mean, all kinds of wonderful little things like that. Now, I have seen ornaments like this at like Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Home Sense, places like that. And they can be pretty darn expensive. And I figure if you've got a lot of scrap yarn lying around, why don't you just make some yourself? So this is what we're going to work on today. So let's get right into it. So we spent a lot of time talking about the yarn in the introduction, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it. But for this project, I have some of this yarn left over as well. And it was also like a fine weight yarn. It had some sparkle through it, which is perfect for this type of project. I am not going to use it in this tutorial because I have a funny feeling it is going to be difficult for you guys to see the stitches on camera. So what I am going to do is I'm going to show you, I actually happen to have a medium 4-weight yarn, but I'm going to show you something really interesting. This, I would myself call this a lightweight number 3. I think this is leftover yarn. I think it was the Caron Simply Soft, C-A-R-O-N, for those of you that are not familiar with the yarn. And I had done a project last year for Christmas and I had these remnants left over. And I've been experimenting with it, and it is still light enough that it is going to make this cute little sweater work. And I thought it would be great, nice Christmas colors. So the red sometimes can be tricky, but I'm hoping that the green will be okay for you guys to see. So that is the yarn I'm going to be using. Again, you just need a few little scraps. I'm not going to use all of this. This takes up very, very little yarn. Okay, so the hook size I'm going to be using actually for this project is a 3.25 millimeter hook, which is also known as a D or a size 3. Now, I'm almost positive this is probably the first time I've been using a hook this small on this channel. I think the smallest I've ever used was a 3.75. Although I may have used this hook when I did the Christmas angel ornament from a couple years back. So it's very rare that I use a hook this small, but for this particular project, I felt it was quite appropriate. And again, I've packed my patience, so I hope you will too for this project. And as always, make sure that you have a handy pair of scissors. And of course, you're going to need a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end. And then for your hanger here, like I used a bit of ribbon, which worked out great. So I've got a lot of this ribbon that I had ordered off of Amazon. And let's see if I can give you guys any details here. So it's satin ribbon, and it is a 1/4 inch in width, and it comes in 100 yards. You definitely won't need all this, but if you are looking for some really beautiful red ribbon, I will leave a link down below to where I got that. And then lastly, if you want to not use a ribbon, if you want to use a hanger, I just kind of picked up, I have some of these left over from last year. I got these at, I think, Michael's. And these are like Christmas hangers, which if you're making your own decorations, these come in really, really handy. And in fact, I used one of these because I was going to kind of fashion it into the shape of like a clothing hanger, because as you can see, I kind of did not do a very good job. But I was trying to fit it in here. And sometimes when you see these decorations, you'll see with the actual like coat hanger, but these just aren't quite large enough and it's too finicky. And these are the large hooks. So that's when I decided I'm just going to try and loop it with the ribbon. So you have a couple of choices on how you can place your hanger. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it with the ribbon later on. All right, so once you've got all of your materials together, we're now ready to start stitching up our sweet little sweater ornament. Okay, so I'm going to make my sweater the dominant color, the green color. I think it'll be a lot easier for you guys to see. Red seems to kind of react really funny on camera, so I'm just going to use this as an accent color. So we're going to start, this is basically, actually I'll bring this one out. This is a raglan style sweater. So you can see the little raglan lines there. So it's just a super mini version. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the neckline, and then we're going to work our way out, and then we're going to work the rest of the body, and then we're going to come back and work the arms. Nice and easy. So to begin, you're going to place a slip knot on your hook. And this might be one of the first few times that you see me stitching just a little bit more snugly. Not tight, because you still need to work those stitches in, but I don't want them to be super, super loose. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by chaining 12. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so once you have your 12 stitches, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the very first stitch, and we are going to place a slip stitch there. So we're just going to slip stitch to the very first stitch. Hopefully you guys can see that. And that's going to form a ring. Okay, just like that. And that is our little neckline there. So now what we're going to do is around 1 we're going to chain 1, and we are going to go back into that same stitch where we slip stitched, and we're going to place a single crochet. I'm going to try to work over that tail if I can. Okay. And then I'm going to move into the next stitch, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I've got 2 single crochets. Now into the next stitch, I'm going to single crochet again. But then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Now, what I should have told you guys in the materials section is you might want to have a couple of little stitch markers. Because this is so tiny and this yarn is a little darker, I would recommend placing a little stitch marker in the spot where we've done the single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. And in fact, I'm going to do that right now. You can see a little bit of a space there, so I'm just going to insert my hook there. Or, sorry, I'm going to insert my stitch marker. So that's the first increase. There's going to be 4 increases in total because we are following the raglan style method. And if you're curious after this project on how to create like an actual life-size raglan style sweater, I have what I think is a great tutorial or a crochet lesson on how to work out the sizing of your raglan sweater, and I'll definitely leave a link to that in the description box down below. I get a lot of people commenting on that video who really appreciate the breakdown, and I also get people asking me how to crochet my own raglan, so that will answer that for you. So we're doing a very mini version right now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to now move into the next 2 stitches, and we're going to single crochet into each stitch. So we have 1 and we have 2. Okay, and then into the 3rd stitch we are going to again place an increase. We're going to single crochet, chain 1, and then single crochet, and right away I'm going to place another stitch marker here so that I don't lose my spot. There we go. Okay, and so that's what you're going to continue doing. Into the next 2 stitches, you will single crochet. So we have 1, and then we have 2. And then into the 3rd one, you're going to do that increase again. So we have single crochet, chain 1, back into the same stitch, single crochet. Oops. There we go. And then I get another stitch marker and I make sure to mark it. There we go. So you can see it's starting to take a shape, right? It's looking a little bit more square, which is what we want. And then again into the next 2 stitches, we single crochet, single crochet, and then into the last stitch, we do that last increase. So we single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. Oops. And right away, I'm going to put that stitch marker there so I don't lose my place. And then I just want to find the beginning. I just want to slip stitch into the top of that very first single crochet that we did. So we did a chain 1, but we're going to ignore that chain 1. And now round number 1 is complete. So you can see it looks much more like a square now, and that's exactly what we want. So these increase corners, we are always going to place an increase there, and that's what's going to start to help us build up the shape of our sweater. So right here, these are the increase corners. If I turn there, hopefully you can see that a little bit. Let me grab this one here. You can kind of see where the increases happen, just on the corner there. Okay, so we're going to go on to round number 2, and this is where I'm going to introduce a little accent color, and that is this red color. So I think it'll be just perfect for this Christmas theme. So what I'm going to do here is, you know where we slip stitch to join? I'm actually going to pull that out for a second, and instead of pulling through the green yarn when I slip stitch, so I'm going to go back into that stitch there, and I'm just going to grab my red yarn, and I'm not going to place a slip knot on it. And many of you know that depending on the project, I won't necessarily place a slip knot, especially if it's a very small type project like this. I'll just place the yarn on the hook, and then I'll use the hook to pull it through and then pull it through the green. I love how these 2 colors are so nice together. It's that muted kind of vintage Christmas feel. I love it. So I'm going to drop this yarn, but I'm just going to trap it in here because we will be picking it back up again in a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 1 to secure the red here. Okay, so we've got the red coming out of there, and then I'm going to try my best to work over that little tail as much as I can. If that bothers you guys, just wait till the end. You can always weave it in or just hide it inside the sweater, because nobody's really going to be turning this sweater inside out. At least I don't think so. Okay, so now we're just going to continue on. We're going to place 1 single crochet again. So we're going to go back into the same stitch where we slip stitched, and we are going to single crochet. So I'm going to leave my green yarn behind, ignore it, and work the red yarn. Okay, and single crochet, just like that. And then I'm going to do that into each of the next 2 stitches. So single crochet there, and single crochet there, and then we are at our first corner here. Now in the first round, we had 2 stitches in between all of our increases. So we always did 1, 2, and then an increase, 1, 2, and an increase. Now you're going to have 4 stitches in between each increase. So right now we've got 3 because we're 1 away from that last corner. So we've come up to the next corner. I'm just going to, for a moment, actually I'm going to put my hook in first because it's very tight and hard to see. So I'm going to take out the stitch marker, and in the increases, I'm just going to place another increase. So I'm going to place a single crochet, Again, I'm going to chain 1, and I do it nice and loose, and then I go back in and I single crochet. Now, some people would say, well, why don't you chain 2? It'll give you more space. You can absolutely chain 2. I like to chain 1 in projects like this because I don't want that seam to be as obvious. Okay, and then I replace my marker back in there. Look at how pretty that looks. Okay, so that's what we're going to repeat now. So now we would have 4 stitches increase, 4 stitches increase. Now the thing you have to be careful of is that there is a stitch right here. Sometimes it's easy to skip over to this next stitch here, and then you'll only end up with 3. It's really important that we have 4 stitches between the corners. So every time you finish working a corner, that first stitch, we have to make sure that we work it. So let me just help it in there. There we go. So we have 1. Then the next stitches here is 2. Then we have, oops, and be careful of your yarn splitting. This one is a little bit splitty. Okay, and then we have 3. And then we have 4 right there. And now we're at our next corner. Okay, so you can see it's really nice and square, which is what we want. And then in my next corner, I actually like to insert first, remove the stitch marker, and then single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet. And immediately I'm going to replace that stitch marker. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for the rest of the row. 4 single crochets, increase, 4 single crochets, increase, and then you'll need 1 more single crochet coming out of here, and I'll meet up with you once we're done this 4th corner here. Okay, so I've just finished my 4th corner, and now I have 1 more stitch here to make sure that my stitch count is even. So I single crochet. Oops, I think I just picked up a funny loop there. So I'm going to single crochet, and now I'm going to slip stitch to join into that very first stitch there. 1, 2, 3. So right there. But now I'm going to drop the red yarn, and I'm going to pick up the green. And I'm going to use the green to slip stitch through. Okay, so now you can see my square is really defined. So you've got round 1 is the green, round 2 is the red. Now, in these other projects, I used a double crochet stitch, and so it looks a little bit more airy. I'm using a single crochet stitch just because it helps with the color changes. But now I am going to go on to using a double crochet stitch. Okay, so our stitches are going to be a little longer now. So anytime I use the red detail, I will go back to single crochet. But what we're going to do right now for round number 3 is we're going to chain 3, 2, and 3, just like that. And then we are going to double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and that'll bring us to the corner. Okay, so I'm going to yarn over into the next stitch. So at least when you change colors, it makes it a little easier to see where you're going to go next. So there's a double crochet. There's another one into the next stitch. Whoops. And then we've got 1 more. And then we are in our corner. You work with small projects, they can be a little bit tight. So this is why I said you have to pack your patience. Okay, there we go. So I have 4 stitches, and then I'll have 2 more on this side. So this time we're going to have 6 stitches in between all of our increases. So now I'm at the corner here, and now I'm going to be using double crochets. So I would still recommend using the stitch marker, but you might find it a little easier to see now. So I'm going to insert my hook, I'm going to double crochet, I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to double crochet right back into that same stitch. And now you can see how the corner is just a little bit more visible, but I'm going to replace that stitch marker there. Okay, and now I'm coming across here. I now know I have to have 6 stitches across. So I'm just going to place 1 double crochet into each stitch until I get to my next corner. And then when I get to the corner, I'm going to place, wow, this is very splitty. When I get to the corner, I'm going to place a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And I'm going to repeat that for all 4 corners. Okay, so you can see how it's starting to form. Okay, I'm going to meet up with you guys at the end here. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of round number 3. And be careful because sometimes it looks like there's a stitch here, but it's not a real stitch. This is where we slip stitched and we chained 3. If you're ever unsure, make sure you count. So we know that in between the increases, we have 6 stitches. Now, because the increases always add a stitch on each side, I know that in total, from stitch marker to stitch marker, I'm now going to have 8. So just make sure that you don't have more than you need, and I know that I'm okay. So for example, if I count now from this stitch marker to this stitch marker, I now have 8 stitches because there are 6 in between the increases. Okay, so I am going to find the top of my chain 3 here. I hope you guys can see this. It's right there. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my red yarn. So I'm going to drop the green and I'm going to pick up the red and I am going to bring it through here. Just like that. Okay, so now you can really see it's taking shape here. So right now it just looks like a little square, but this is the time when I'm going to fold it down. You can see that is where the neckline forms. And so I'm keeping my seam in the back. And so if I pick up one I've already made, you can already see this one's coming out a little bit larger. Because remember, this is considered a medium 4. I personally would call it a lightweight number 3. But it is slightly thicker than the yarn we were using for these previous 2. So for now, I would say this is good enough, and I'm going to close off the sides and work the rest of the body. If you are using a super fine weight yarn, you are probably going to work another round of double crochets, maybe even a second round after this. So I've done 3 rounds in total. In these projects, I did 4 rounds in total before I closed off the body, which I'm going to show you what I mean by that right now. So just keep that in mind. If you're doing it slightly thicker, you need less rounds. For the thinner, you're going to need more. Okay? So with my red yarn, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to continue on with the double crochets. Let me just get my yarn out of the way here. Okay. Actually, I'm lying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go back to single crochets because this is just my accent color. So I'm going to chain 1. And then I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and I am going to single crochet. I like to kind of trap that green in there as I go. Okay, and I'm going to single crochet until just before this corner here. So I have 2, I have 3, and I have 4. And this is the time now when I want to fold this down. And the next thing is a corner, right? So I want to work both of these corners. Let me just get this tail out of the way. I want to work both of these corners at the same time, and that's what closes the body off, and it actually forms our armholes. So I'm going to take this stitch marker out. So I'm going to insert my hook into this corner, and I'm going to take my stitch marker out of the next corner, and I'm going to insert my hook. So my hook is currently sitting through both of those corners, and then I'm going to pull through, and I'm going to single crochet. So now you've attached these sides, and our teeny tiny little armhole has been formed. Okay, So now I'm just going to continue and turn the work here, and I'm going to go into that very first stitch right there. So it's easy to miss this one. This one's coming out of the increase. So I have 1, 2, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Remember we said we had 8 now between each stitch marker. And guess what? My next corner. So I take that out, insert my hook into the space, and then I find the next stitch marker and I insert my hook into that space and take the marker out. So now we can kind of get rid of those markers. And so I pull the yarn through and I single crochet. That's the thing. This is very splitty because it's a smaller hook to what the yarn is recommending. Okay, so now I've formed my other armhole, and now I just turn my work and I continue on until I come back to the back seam, and I still want to make sure that that green is hanging out there because we're going to pick that up here in a moment. So now I continue on single crochet. So I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so remember this is a false stitch, so we just skip over that and we slip stitch into the next stitch, and this is where I'm going to drop the red. I'm going to pick up my green. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 3. And round number 4 is complete, and at this point you have now formed, look at that, you've got your armholes here, little tiny armholes, and now we've got the round body that we're going to work into. Okay, now at this point I'm actually going to just snip my red yarn because I am only going to use it as an accent now later on. So I'm just going to snip it right about there. Okay, and now I'm just focusing on the green yarn here. So I've chained 3, and now I'm just going to work over that tail if I can. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to place 1 double crochet into each and every single stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch. I'm trying to work over that tail and double crochet. Nice and easy. So now I don't have to worry about any increases. I'm just placing 1 stitch into each stitch. Do you see what I mean about you have to pack your patience? It's tiny to work with and it can be finicky. So, but I promise you the result is going to be fantastic. So I'm just going to come around the bend here just to show you guys. Okay. So this is the part where we just kind of join these. It's just a regular stitch here, and there's nothing to worry about. You just insert, and you're on your merry way here, and then you come around, just like that. Okay, so you work into each stitch. Okay, so it's starting to look something like that, and you come around here. So just go ahead and finish it all the way around. Slip stitch to join, and that will be round number 5. Okay, and I'll meet up with you at the end of that round. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of my round here, and I just find the top of that chain 3 and I slip stitch. Now I would tell you that you should have at this point 16 stitches at the end of round number 5. Look at how cute that is. Oh my gosh, I just love that. So, but funny story, I happen to have 17. So somewhere, I think I put an extra stitch. You might even have 18. Guess what? Not a big deal. This is just a little ornament. As long as it looks nice and tidy, you are A-okay. Look at that. I love that. So now we're just going to do a couple more rounds to create the length of our body, nice and easy, and I'm sticking with this green yarn, and that's all I'm going to do. So I'm always going to start by chaining 3, and then I work right away into the very next stitch, and I'm going to double crochet. So we're going to just basically repeat what we did in round number 5, and we're going to do that for round 6 and round 7. Okay guys, so I've just finished, or I'm coming up to finishing my 7th round. Look at how cute this looks. I almost feel like this one was always my favorite, but this one's kind of like coming in first place for me. I love it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to bring back the red just to do a little bottom trim on the little sweater here. So as I slip stitch to the top of the 3rd chain, I'm going to reintroduce that red yarn, and then I'm just going to pull that through. I hope you guys can see the green yarn okay. I know it's not always the easiest, but I just wanted you to see how cute this color combination comes out. Okay, so I have that there. I'm going to pull on my green a little bit to tighten it, and I'm going to chain 1 to secure my red. And in fact, I can actually snip my green because I'm done with it at this point. Do that, and then I'm just going to work over both of these tails here. I might even just do a little knot there to secure them, and then we're going to work over them. Okay, so for the last round is just going to be a little trim, so we're going to go back to single crochets. So I'm going to, let me get these out of the way so I can work over them. So I'm going to go into the next stitch, and I'm going to single crochet. So notice I didn't single crochet right away into the very first stitch. I'm going to do that when I come back, so I'm just going to ignore that chain 1 there. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to single crochet 1 stitch into every single stitch, and I'm going to work over my little tail here, and that's it. Pretty easy. Okay, just like that. And then when you come back around, you're going to single crochet where that chain 1 is and slip stitch, and the body of your sweater will be complete. Okay, so I'm just at the end here, and as always for my newer people, I just want to show you what I mean by that. So I had done my chain 1, and then I went into the next stitch. So this chain 1 is not going to count as anything. So I'm going to go right back into that same spot where we slip stitched. And that is where I'm going to put my final single crochet, and then I slip stitch into that full stitch that we worked there, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to snip my yarn. And I'll just do a little chain here, and then we fastened off, and then I'm going to weave that in afterwards. Look at how cute that is. I love that. So that little red detail just gave it a little something. So we've got the body complete. We've got our armholes formed. They are very tiny, so it's going to require, again, a little bit of patience. We've got our neck formed. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to add the sleeves and the little collar. So you can see it looks like a little turtleneck there. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to continue with the green for the collar. So let's go up here into this area, and just because I think it's a little bit larger. So we want to find that back seam. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to weave in this end because it's kind of annoying, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've woven that in, and now it looks nice and tidy. So you can see a little bit of this seam going back there. That's going to be the back of our ornament. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to, actually we'll start in the back here. So we know that we started with 12 chains, so there should be 12 stitches. But essentially I just want to work 10 stitches. So there'll be a little bit of a decrease, but it's going to be just a skipped stitch. So essentially we're going to do 4 stitches across. We've got 1 stitch on the shoulder, 4 stitches across, 1 stitch on the shoulder. And it can be a bit tricky to see anyway. So this is, I find, the part where a lot of people miss stitches. So if we can just say, okay, we're going to decrease a little bit anyway, it's not going to be a big deal. So we're going to insert our hook into anywhere in the back here. And this is most likely your starting chain that you are working into. so you might have to help it along. I really try my best to get at least a couple of loops. And in fact, you know what might be really easy is just to go in between the stitches, just like that. Okay, and then again place the yarn on the hook, and we're going to pull that through. Good. Okay, and then chain 1 as usual. And I am going to use double crochet stitches here, so I'm going to chain 2 more. This will give us nice height to our turtleneck collar. And then I'm just going to go into the next stitch there, or in between the stitches, whatever's easier, right? This is just meant to be nice and cute and easy. It doesn't have to be too overworked. And that's all you're going to do all the way around. Double crochet. And it gets a little tricky to work around these small spaces here, so just take your time. And right there, another double crochet. So I've got, that's my shoulder. And now I'm going to come around here. It gets very finicky and tight. So I'm just going to find a spot and double crochet. So we don't need to be too particular about it. You just want your neck to be a little bit narrower. So that's why I said we're going to decrease the number of stitches. Now we're coming around the front. So basically I'm just kind of finding a spot that looks good. I'm not too particular about it. Try not to split my yarn at the same time. And coming around here and there. And who knows, I may still end up with 12 stitches, but that's okay too. So these little areas are very tricky. Coming around now over that shoulder, just inserting into a nice comfortable spot. And probably got about 2 more stitches to go. And then 1 more pretty close to where we started. And now you can slip stitch to the top of that 3rd chain and your collar is complete. Just like that. So let's turn around and see what we've got. Okay, so it's definitely wider than what I was hoping for, and that's probably just because I placed it in a lot of other stitches there, but I think that's the tail end there of a tail. But it still looks pretty darn cute. What do you guys think? Passable, doable. So I ended up, let's see, what did I do? I ended up doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, Lord. Okay, so I placed my hook in more spots than I needed to. But you know what? It still looks kind of cute. And if you wanted to, you could do another round. And I believe in this one, I did 2 rounds. Again, this is a lot more finer weight yarn. But in this one, I just did 1. Okay, so we're going to leave that. The collar is now complete. So I'm going to snip my yarn there, fasten off. And then if you want, you can weave in that end. Just going to tuck it inside for now so it doesn't distract you guys. Look at how cute that is. I love it. Okay, and now we're going to do the arms, and these are probably going to be the trickiest ones of all because look at how tiny that space is. So I have approximately 8 visible stitches that are nice and comfortable to work around, so that's kind of what I'm aiming for. So what I'm going to do this time though is I'm going to bring back my red yarn because I want this little accent here to continue over the first round of the arms. So we're going to start with this one here. And I always like to kind of start in the underarm area or just somewhere in the back. That way it's not as visible. So I'm going to insert my hook here. Bring back the red yarn. So I think you guys are kind of getting the gist of how this all goes now. And I'm going to chain one. And I'm going to use single crochets, remember. So anytime I've done the red accent, it's always single crochets. So I've chained one, and now all I'm going to do is go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Again, I'm going to work over that tail if I can. And then I just place a single crochet, one into every single stitch. Hopefully I'll still have 8 stitches by the end. But again, if you have 7 or you have 9, it's not the end of the world. That's what makes it special. It's handmade and it had somebody's loving energy put into it. This would make actually also for great Christmas toppers. So you can make this as an ornament, but actually I was just thinking it would be, I love doing that for Christmas gifts because I like the fact that I can kind of code the gift so I know who the gift is for, but the recipient doesn't know who it's for because I haven't written a name on it. But I know if like my niece May has this little green sweater on her gift, that's her gift, but she doesn't know it's her gift. And that way is less prone to snooping. Who am I kidding? I was a kid. I snooped all the time. Okay, so I've come up to the end here, and now all I want to do is just slip stitch to that first single crochet to join. And we have completed the red portion. And actually, see how that creates a nice sense of continuity there? What I'm going to do, actually I'm going to take that out because I am going to reintroduce my green yarn. So I'm going to slip stitch with my green yarn, but let me just double check my stitch count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, well, I ended up adding it. I knew that there were probably going to be an extra one just down at this crease here, but that is a-okay. So I'm going to slip stitch to join, but I'm going to do it with the green yarn. And look at that. Actually, I am starting to run low on the green, but we definitely will have enough to finish this, so that's good. So I'll just pull it through like that. Pull on my red. And then I'm going to chain 3 because I'm going to go back to using double crochet stitches. So we have 2 and 3. Good. Now I can snip off the red like that. And so now I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the single crochets. I'm just going to place 1 stitch into every stitch all the way around. It is going to be tricky because see, I'm trying to hold on to here and it's a small opening. So just take your time and remember that this is supposed to be fun. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and do that all the way around. And then I'll show you guys my sleeve. Okay guys, so I just slip stitched at the end. I chained 3 and I did another round. So of the green for the sleeve, I did 2 rounds. Okay, I'm debating whether or not I should do an accent with the red cuff. I think I am going to do that just before I fasten off. So what do we have here for our sleeve? The first round was done in red. The second and the third was done in green. And now we're going to finish off with the fourth one in red again. I can be sometimes a little stickler for certain details, but I think it'll just make all the difference. So I'm just going to reintroduce the red. Whoops. Actually, I should take out that slip stitch. But we're almost there, guys. Once this one is done, we just need to do the other sleeve. So I'm just going to insert into the top of the third chain, bring out the red, and pull it through. Just like that. And now I'm going to chain 1. And you know the drill. I'm just going to single crochet. It's getting very awkward here. Single crochet back into that same stitch. And then 1 single crochet all the way around here. And then you're going to slip stitch to join, fasten off, and your sleeve will be complete. Okay guys, so my sleeve is done. You know what, I don't know why, I just love this so much. It's just so adorable, so cute. So all that's left now is I'm going to do the second sleeve. We're going to do it exactly the same way. So you're going to do the first round, single crochets in the red, 2 rounds in the green of double crochets, and the last little cuff there is going to be single crochets in the red. Now remember, I have 8, it's actually 9 stitches. I should have said it's 9 because it includes the crease here. As I said, if you end up with 10 or you end up with 7, it's not the end of the world. As long as when you look at it, it looks like a sweater, you're good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my last sleeve. Then our little sweater is going to be complete. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'll just show you how I just did my little ribbon tie here. And then you're off to the races. So I will be right back. Okay, so I have finished my little sweater. Now you might be able to notice that this sleeve is a little bit narrower than this sleeve. And as any time when we create more than one thing, like booties, especially booties, or sometimes even mittens, the second one is never perfectly exact because there's either something that happens with the gauge or I probably missed a stitch somewhere, but you know what? It kind of makes it quirky and cute anyway, so I'm pretty happy with that. So that is our little sweater ornament, and you can just see faintly that the seam runs in the back there, which is how I wanted it. So that will be considered the back, and this is the front, and so you can give it a little bit of shape like that, which will give it a little bit more life. And now all we have to do is put the hanger on it. So I have opted to kind of go... Okay guys, so the battery on my other camera died, so I'm just using this one. So that's why you're probably going to notice that the coloring is different. This particular camera always picks up reds just really off. So my apologies for that. So we're just going to do the best we can in this last little clip here. And so I'm going to take this really beautiful, it's a nice satin ribbon here, and I'm just going to cut a little bit, kind of like that. You can just do the length that you like. I didn't do this one very long, so probably this one can be a little bit shorter. So probably something like that, depending again, the size of your tree or where you're going to be placing your ornament. So this one's nice and long. I probably could have done this one a little bit longer actually, but so here we go. So it's a nice crisscross effect. And all we're going to do is we're just going to place it on here. Now you could do a bunch of things. You could just hot glue it if you like. I like to tie mine in so it's nice and secure. So I'm going to put it on the back side where you see the seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably just play with it until I can feed it through the back side of the collar here. Let me see if I can get it to come through. Probably should be using a bigger hook for this, but I think I've got it coming through here, do I? No, I do not. Ha ha ha. So I'm just going to try and pull it through. There we go. So that it comes out, you know, between one of the stitches here. And then I'm going to bring the other end in and I'm going to try and pull it through a couple of stitches over. And that way it sits nice and secure and it won't just pull through the whole ornament here. Oops. Almost had it. Perfect, just like that. Okay, then I make sure it's just sitting nice and straight. And actually this works out perfectly because it comes up close to the red. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring these two sides together and I'm going to just knot it. Single knot, just keeping it nice and simple. Just like that. Okay, and I pull it up on the other side and I can tighten it and just fix it how I like. And I really like how if you turn it to this side, it actually looks like a tie, and it looks like it's part of the sweater. Like on this one also is red. It looks like it's actually a tie, like a shirt and collar tie. So it's quite versatile that way. But then the front looks like that, and you can hang it on the tree or wherever else you're going to hang it on, or a gift like I said. And that is our sweet little sweater ornament. So I just still have to do a little hanger on that one. And like I said, this is perfect for you know, getting through your stash, especially if you got a lot of very lightweight or fine weight yarn, and you can have a lot of fun with this. You can add some sparkles to this, maybe a couple of little sequins. I mean, you can go to town. So what do you guys think? Do you like this sweet little Christmas crochet ornament? I love this myself. So I hope you do too. Leave a comment for me in the comment box down below. Let me know what you think about this crochet sweater. I know you've probably seen ornaments like this around, but I hope that it gave you some kind of inspiration to create your own. And you can customize it. I mean, you can do all kinds of crazy things with it. But that is our project for this week. A little bit of a head start on the holiday season. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, as always, you know you can leave it for me in the comment box down below. And I know many of you do like to email me directly, so feel free. Email me at info@crochetcrafty.com. You can also come say hi to me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. I tend to spend a little bit more time on Instagram, but if you send me a message on Facebook, I will get back to you. And don't forget, come visit me on the website, crochetcrafty.com. Lots of great, fabulous tools for you, sizing charts, as well as a whole bunch of written patterns to choose from free patterns all the way to patterns you can find in my Etsy shop. And that's it for this week. So I hope you have an amazing day. I really do hope you have a lot of fun crocheting up your little ornaments, and take good care of yourselves as always. And I'm going to see you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.